Okay, so what we're going to be doing today is learning how to do a chain stitch. And this is what that looks like. And that's it on the back there. So I'm going to start off by making sure I've got enough thread. So from the center of the chest to your fingertips, I have my long tail and I have my short tail over here. And so I'm going to put a knot on my long tail. So again, my thread is over here on the middle of my finger, and I'm going to really twist it down tightly, get my middle finger in here, knot that up, and I have a nice ugly knot there, which won't go through the fabric. So this is starting to get quite worked over here with a lot of the demos that I'm doing around the class. So I'm going to come in from the back to the front. And I'm going to go in beside the stitch, right beside, as close as I can get. Most teachers will go in right through the same hole. I don't do that. So I'm going to choose my length over here. I'm going to wrap my thread around here. Come on, wrap, thank you. And I'm going to pull it out to the side over here. I'm going to leave it a little bit on the loose side because I want to show you. Don't tighten it up too much because you can actually adjust the loops later on. So I'm going to go in beside this thread over here. And the reason I'm going in beside is because when I go to tighten this up a little bit and really make the loops look nice, I won't have sewn through the thread. So I'm going in right beside the other one inside the loop there. I'm going to wrap this thread. And I'm going to do about 4 of these for you. So there's the loop, the thread coming out inside the loop. I'm going to go back inside the loop, the side where the thread is coming down out of. I usually go down just below it. I'm going to do another stitch over here, wrap my thread, and I'm wrapping the thread that comes out of the fabric, not the needle thread. Okay, blanket stitch, I was wrapping needle thread, but you can also wrap the fabric thread coming out. So I'm going to do one more, wrap my thread. Now these are awfully loose over here and I would like to tighten them up. So I'm going to start off by adjusting this one here, and this is where this one comes out. So it went in through there, it's coming out over here, so I can give that a little bit of a tighten there. Now this loop has kind of grown a bit, so I'm going to move this out from here like this, tighten it down a little bit until I got the knots or the loops in here spaced nicely. I do it this way, I find it a little bit easier. You can actually go back and loosen it up, okay? And so now I have nice loops that are evenly shaped in there, okay? You saw they were much looser before, and so now they're a bit tighter. When I want to end this off, rather than going in beside, I go in beside and go to the back, all my loops will undo, okay? This is actually the basis of how some of those sewing machines that don't require a bobbin thread function, they do loops. You'll actually see that chain stitch. So rather than going down beside the other thread, I'm just going to go over the outside of the loop here beside that thread and go to the back. And I just tighten that up, so I want to loosen that because I don't want that over there. Okay. That hasn't affected it too much. I'm actually going to tighten this up just a tiny bit more because I like to have my loops a little bit neater, a little bit tidier. There we go, like that. All right. So go down to the back, and then you can do the lock stitch, which again, I'm going to demo that. So take a small bite of fabric at the back. You shouldn't see that needle on the front. Make your loop. Control your thread. Don't let it tell you what it wants to do. You tell it. Okay, so go through the loop, draw that down, and use your thumbnail to set it a little bit. And then you can either go through the fabric right underneath it as well, making sure you're not appearing on the front, or you can go through the threads that you just had. Make that loop, go through it. My magic number is 3 times. If you don't want to tie a knot on the thread before you begin sewing, you can actually, and that's the other way of doing it there, I just did the wrap around, okay? And so if you don't want to tie a knot on your thread, you can actually do a lock stitch 3 times, holding onto the little tail here, and then continue stitching, and that's, okay, and then you wind up being able to start off your stitching, so you begin and end the same way. So I'm perfectly okay with you doing a lock stitch to start off your stitching. That's the other way of doing it. So at this point, I'm going to want to clip off the thread over here. And then that's my chain stitch. So there's 4 little ones there. And I like to leave things very loose so I can tighten them up a little bit later and reposition the loops. You saw what I was doing. One of the things you need to guard against when you're doing chain stitch, and I'm going to start off another one and show you some of the mess ups that can occur. So I've tied my knot. So I'm going to come out over here. Oh, that didn't stay very well. So when you tiny knot, I need a bigger knot. I need an uglier knot. There we go. Okay, so I come through over here. I'm going to go down over here, come through, wrap my thread. And you notice I'm drawing the thread off to the side here. Yeah? If you do this, you're going to have little tiny stitches here. So don't draw it up this way, draw it out that way. Otherwise, you see this happening over here. What I'm going to have to do is go in with the needle and give this a bit of a loosen. And it just pulled out the knot, I think. Okay, weird. Okay, so you can actually loosen that up. But if you're drawing it up this way, you wind up tightening up the chain stitch in a way that you don't want. So I draw it out to the side. Okay, so I pull in this direction. So wherever you want your stitch to go, and that includes in the blanket stitch, if you draw it up, that line of thread on the side is going to wind up on the top of the fabric. But if you draw the thread off to the side when you're doing blanket stitch, it will appear on the side edge. Okay? So I'm going to just clip this out of here because I don't want that there. And I'm going to end this video because I think that's it. So it should look like that on the back. There's my yellow sewing over there. And that's it.